Hello, one and all. Welcome to another edition of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. We're going to pick two random SoulsBorne bosses, and then they will engage in a dune buggy race, 3 laps, and whoever wins the dune buggy race will be the winner. The challenge is going to be finding dune buggies that will actually fit some of these bosses, and I don't know how that's going to work out, but that's not my department, so I hand that off to someone else to figure out. So it's not my problem. I'm the head of the company, but it's above my pay grade. Try to figure out how that works. Okay. Isn't that generally how it works in most companies anyway? Pretty close to 100 bosses in this little generator that I created. The battlefield has been cleared. It can house any and all SoulsBorne bosses. And it has housed all of them at least once. So we are going to see what we are going to land on. See what kind of matchups we can put together. We've had some interesting ones the past few weeks. So things can always get interesting. You never know what we're going to find. Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy from Elden Ring. Rykard is, he's essentially a gimmick boss. We can pretty much, we can say that. He's a gimmick boss. He's a gimmick boss in the same vein as Yorm the Giant is in Dark Souls 3. You have to get a certain weapon and do things that way. So, I believe we have landed on Rykard before, so Rykard is always an interesting choice, so nothing wrong with that. Rykard could produce some interesting matchups in SoulsBorne Battle to Death. So yeah, that's not a disappointing choice. That's not deserving of a buzzer or a fart noise or, a breh or anything like that. So, that's okay. I think we can accept Rykard as a competitor here. We have to. We just landed on him, so, that's the way that goes. Okay, I'm rambling. We're going to take this wheel for another spin. We have Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy from Elden Ring on one end of the arena, and he will patiently await his opponent in this dune buggy race that I have organized, that he is somehow going to participate in. I don't know how. Maybe it's not going to be a dune buggy race. Maybe they're just going to run around the track with whatever appendages that they have. Rykard doesn't even have legs, so I don't know how this is going to work, but they're just going to have to figure it out when they get down there. All right, Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, on one end of the battlefield, and on the other end we have the Looking Glass Knight from Dark Souls 2. An interesting fight, to be sure. I'm once again trying not to give my opinion right away, because legal will have a fit with me, and I'll be getting all kinds of emails and letters and shit, and I'll have to go talk to my lawyer, and it's a whole thing. But, I don't really want to deal with that. But, I have an opinion on this fight. Let's see if they heard that. I don't know, though. I don't know. Could go either way. I'm going to have to analyze this more in the verdict section. But for right now, we are going to go to the contractually obligated bios. Let's have a look at That was a fail. That was a fail. My mouth failed me. I would say it doesn't happen very often, but it actually does happen quite often. And that sucks because my mouth is like my biggest weapon. And it's the weapon I always have. So, yeah. We are going to go to the contractually obligated bio. So let's have a look at Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy. Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, is the son of Radagon and Renala, and the sibling of Rani and Radon. They really like their R names over there, don't they? At some point, Radagon decided he wanted to trade up, at least in his mind, and then he left Renala to be with Queen Marika, and then Marika made all the kids demigods, so I guess that was a good deal for them. Serving under the Golden Order, Rykard was a ruthless justiciar, assuming I pronounced that correctly, probably not. He commanded a company of inquisitors who tortured those who would be against the Golden Order, more or less, such as the Albinaurics. He spent time in the volcanic lands of Mount Gelmir, and also apparently traveled to a foreign land where he came back with a dancer by the name of Tanith, who became his consort. Rykard's blasphemous intentions led him to assist Rani in the Night of the Black Knives, and Rani rewarded him with a slab of rock, which it was engraved with the traces of the Rune of Death, which would allow him to challenge the Black Beast of Destined Death, should the, quote, coming trespass one day transpire. I would be asking for a different prize if that were me, but that's just me. That's just how I feel. When Queen Marika shattered the Elden Ring and the War of the Shattering commenced, Rykard led a blasphemous campaign against the Erdtree and the Greater Will, and the rebels came to his side. They came to be known as recusants. His ambitions made him a worthy sovereign. People wanted to follow him against the Erdtree. So, yeah, Rykard was not without his followers, that's for sure. One day, Rykard woke up on the wrong side of the bed and decided to feed himself, great rune and all, to the blasphemous servant that dwelled inside Mount Gelmir. And in the final minutes before being devoured, he had a vision of a future where he witnessed a serpent devouring the world. After being devoured by the servant, you will be shocked to find that Rykard lost his mind. He began devouring his greatest champions, and together in the belly of the serpent they became his family. And you will also be shocked to find that his forces abandoned him after this. They decided to try to find ways to put Rykard down for good, and no one was really successful. They couldn't find a way to do it. The search began for a weapon that could finally put Rykard to rest once and for all, and then the Serpent Hunter was eventually found, but still, all attempts on his life failed. The spear was eventually left in Rykard's chambers by a former recusant, who had hoped that a worthy champion would come along and finally put Rykard to bed, eventually. And there Rykard resides until one day you come along and wield the Serpent Hunter and finally put him to rest once and for all. So, and then, when you actually wield the Serpent Hunter and do the fight, it kind of makes you wonder what the problem was. It's really not that difficult. I mean, it is difficult. I shouldn't say that. The Rykard fight is not without its difficulties, but once you have the Serpent Hunter, I mean, you can basically hit him from across the level. So it's like, why did you guys have so much trouble once you had a hold of the spear? I can see why you had trouble before. He's kind of basically surrounded by lava, and he can hit you from like half the distance of the entire boss level. So, yeah, I get why it would be a problem beforehand, but after, I don't really know. They must have really had problems. So they must have really not known how to fight in order to not be able to deal with Rykard after getting their hands on the Serpent Hunters. So, that being said, as I said earlier, it's still a difficult fight in its own right. It's not like I haven't had my issues with it myself. So Rykard is always a worthy competitor, and always a welcome sight in SoulsBorne Battle to the Death, as long as you're not standing across the arena from him. It's a welcome sight for us, because we get to pit him against somebody and imagine who he would fight, and how such fight would commence. So, yeah, Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, is a very interesting boss. And, you know, even in the world of Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Elden Ring, there aren't too many bosses that, their backstory is they get devoured by a creature. and that's their, I mean, that's not their whole story, but, it's not Rykard's whole story, but, that's basically their fate. They choose to get devoured by another creature. So, yeah, Rykard's unique, I guess, in that way, and an appearance by him is always an interesting time in SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. The Looking Glass Knight served as King Vendrick's very intimidating lieutenant. He wields a thorn greatsword and a mirrored shield that gives him the ability to tap into other worlds, which is kind of interesting. In the glory days of King Vendrick's reign, Looking Glass Knight served as someone who, if someone wanted to come and serve in King Vendrick's army, they had to face the Looking Glass Knight first, which I guess that makes sense. If you can survive him or whatever, you'd be a worthy addition to the army. But he's a pretty intimidating sight, so I'm pretty sure I'd be pooping my pants if I was in that position. After King Vendrick finally comes to the realization that backstabbing bitch of a queen of his, Nashandra, was only after the first flame and his great soul, Vendrick flees to the undead crypt so that Nashandra cannot get a hold of those things. And basically he goes in there and becomes hollow and just is cursed to wander the halls just endlessly for the end of time, until you come along and kill him should you choose to do so. But after that happens, the Looking Glass Knight becomes the first line of defense for anyone that would come to hunt down Vendrick. And yeah, he's a tough one as well. The fight against him takes place on top of a building in the middle of a lightning storm, and he can summon, if you're playing online, he summons other players that are playing, obviously, through his mirror. If you're playing offline, he just summons NPCs. But yeah, that just makes them more difficult, because then you gotta fight 2 or 3 people. Dick move. Unfair. This is a tough battle in a string of tough battles that we've had lately here on SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. The Looking Glass Knight is a difficult competitor and has a few tricks up their sleeve. That being said, I just can't envision a scenario where the Looking Glass Knight can beat Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy. Even with help and even with the Serpent Hunter, even though I said all that crap earlier about I don't know why Rykard's recusants had such issues defeating Rykard, even after they found the Serpent Hunter. I don't know. And as I said after that, it's still difficult. I don't see a scenario where the Looking Glass Knight can pull this off. I just can't. I think Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, wins this fight, and probably wins it without too much trouble too. I mean, I know the Looking Glass Knight is pretty heavily armored, and has a giant mirror shield, but the whole area is surrounded by lava, so I don't know that would protect him or her for very long. Yeah, I just don't see it happening. I think Rykard wins this fight, and it probably doesn't take very long. But that is just my opinion. Feel free to leave yours in the comments. And with that, yet another episode of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death draws to a close. RobertBlanchardBooks.com. If you're interested in the award-winning Roar of a Dragon series, you can read the first 3 chapters of each book there for free. If you'd like to hear more about them, the Rise of Dragons podcast, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. My Linktree, my Instagram, my Twitter are all Bobby's World 2110. Mondays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now, ongoing is the Dark Souls Remastered No Estus run. This past Monday, we're finally making progress in the Undead Burg and the Undead Parish. It has been a nightmare in that area, and my frustration has been mounting and sometimes bubbling over, so that's been an interesting time over there. And I've talked about a whole bunch of various things in the meantime, such as Sydney Sweeney's bath soap, the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees Netflix documentary, which I enjoyed watching, and work and life and a whole bunch of other things. So if you're interested in all that, go check that out. Back in the archives, there's the Elden Ring No Crimson Flask run, Volume 1 Limgrave, the Sekiro No Healing Gourd run, Dark Souls 3 No Estus run, and Dark Souls 3 No Level Up run. There's all kinds of stuff to go check out in the archives. And as always, Wednesdays 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is what you're watching right now, SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. Tune back in here next week. I can't talk, it's early in the morning. Tune back in here next week, where we will pick 2 more or more SoulsBorne bosses, and we will pit them against each other, and we will do bios, and I will decide who I think will win, and you will leave your opinions in the comments. So always fun times to be had. Always more content coming. I'm sorry there was no SoulsBorne Battle to the Death last week. It's been really stressed out a lot lately, and I just needed a little bit of a break. I'm back in the saddle again, so no more breaks in the near future, but as always, we'll see what happens. Leave a like, subscribe, notifications, and all that nonsense. I love and appreciate you guys, and I hope everyone's life is going well, and you are loved and appreciated, and all of that fun stuff. I think it's important for everybody to know that they are appreciated in their lives. So, yeah, I hope life is going well for everybody, and I love you guys, and I hope everyone has an amazing week. Be well, stay safe, and as always, it's Bobby's World, and you're all just living in it. See you alive, y'all. Bye. What's going on, guys? Thank you for checking out the video today, but I got a question for you. Did you know I wrote a book? Did you know I wrote 3 books? Did you know that they're all part of the same series? The Roar of a Dragon, The Treachery of a Weasel, and The Cry of a Raven. ReadersFavorite.com says that its intensity rivals that of the Game of Thrones series. Now, I personally think that's crazy, but it's not for me to judge. It's for you to judge. Go to robertblanchardbooks.com and you can check out the books right now. But wait, that's not all. All 3 books got 5-star reviews in ReadersFavorite.com. These books won the Silver Medal in the Literary Titan Awards. The Cry of a Raven won Silver at the Global eBook Awards. So what are you waiting for? Read about Aiden's dream to become a Knight of Delmar. Read about his death and resurrection. Oops, I gave that away, didn't I? And read about his journey back home from 3,000 years in the future to stop the evil that started in Delmar. Go to robertblanchardbooks.com. You can read the first 3 chapters of each book there for free. And then, if you're interested, you can buy the books there as well. And if you've already read the books or you just want to hear more about them, you can check out the Rise of Dragons podcast. You can listen to it wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And in every episode, I cover a character from the book, an event from the book, my journey into writing, and everything in between. Ripley, what do you got to say about all this?
Give me a treat or I will end you.
You know she's telling you to check out the books. Go to robertblanchardbooks.com to check out the books, or listen to the Rise of Dragons podcast if you want to hear about them. That's all I got to say, and thank you for watching this video.